for the beginning, I actually need your help, you know, so it will not be just me who will make this presentation. You will help me, huh? Is that okay for you? So glass of something, that's, most of you will have something. Some of you I cannot see, but anyway, I believe that you have something to drink. Also, we can communicate. You can ask me some questions. Maybe I will answer later or during the presentation, whatever comes to your mind. You can, or you can just interrupt me. Then I will forget what I wanted to say. But anyway, we can continue. But I would like you to use something. You know that on the bottom of your screen, on the right side, you have this button which says reactions. So, yes, so we can use this two. There are two reactions. So in that way, we can have actually three things that how you can react. One is, so two reactions and nothing is like the third version, you know. So for example, if I will ask you to make reaction like, have you been to Croatia? Like to make thumb up, or you plan to go, it's like applause, or you don't have any plans to visit Croatia, like nothing. Okay, can you do it for me? Oh, okay, thanks, Yvonne. This is also, we can count this as well. Okay, Claudia is planning to come. Okay, thank you for this reaction. Maybe during this presentation, few times I will ask you for some reactions, because that will help me to know which way we can continue maybe next time. Thank you, Yvonne. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Also, I will need a bit of your imagination during this presentation, and of course, relax and be open for new things, and we can let go. I will try to do this now correctly, even if I'm doing this first time in my life, but I hope it will work like this, maybe. Okay, I hope you can see my shared screen. Is that okay? You can show me with thumb, with anything, if you want. So, one of the possible titles for this presentation could be Homeland of Zinfandel and Chardonnay, but also it can be, I don't know, is Croatia small on the map or something like that. So, hello again, I'm Max Dubravko-Fijačko, actually it's my name, but for sure for most of you it will be easier to call me or to just know that I'm Max. I'm tour guide. I'm manager for private tours. I have Zagreb Urban Adventures, Dubrovnik Urban Adventures as walking tours, thematic walking tours in those cities. Also, I'm owner of Destina Tour, which is the brand for private tours. I'm educated in WSET first level, and also I'm Interpret Europe certified interpretive trainer for interpretive guides. I'm married with 2 kids. And this is my father. I don't know if you can see, he is actually also winemaker, one of. And that's the place where I spend many, many days in my life. But this is the town where I actually live. This is Zagreb, the capital of Croatia. And some of you who have maybe never been to Croatia or something, you will think that, or if you Google Croatia, usually first photos of Croatia, what you see are photos of coast, sea, and but actually Croatia is coastal Mediterranean country, but most of us actually, we don't live on the sea. We cannot swim every day in the sea. We actually live in the continental part of Croatia, most of us. And yeah, this is Croatia. You see where it is? Somewhere in the middle of Southern Europe. And Croatia is with this strange shape, like letter C or banana or boomerang, whatever. Partly is Mediterranean country and partly is Central European country. We are lucky that 45th parallel actually goes, you know, through Bordeaux, Tuscany, Piedmont, and also through Croatia. So we have actually, I think, one of the best positions for production of wine. So again, I have one question for you, and you can actually do it here if you want to answer me. Do you prefer more red wine? You can put thumb up, or white wine, you can put applause, or I don't know, if you prefer beer, you don't need to do anything. Okay. I can see some different reactions. Thank you very much. In Croatia, we have both. We have white and red. Okay, we have beer as well, but this is totally different subject. Interesting thing is that on the coastal part of Croatia, mostly we have red wine. More than 75% of production is actually red wine. And in continental part of Croatia, exactly opposite. More than 75% is actually about white wine. So I mentioned the strange shape of Croatia. There is one thing which I like to use when I have multi-day tours and I drive with my guests in the car and I don't have map all the time in front of us. So I use one image that can make easier for me to tell them where we are right now. Accidentally or not, today's Croatia, actually, I think it looks pretty much like dragon. You see? So when we drive around Croatia, I can say now we are, where is the head of the dragon, or on the top of the wings, or I don't know, where is the belly? Maybe sometimes during this virtual tour, I will use the same expressions. Also, dragon could be very easy connected with Croatia, maybe for Game of Thrones fans also. There is also another image which is very well connected with Croatia, especially after last World Cup. Maybe some people can recognize Croatia like that. I told that we have a coast, actually quite long coast. Maybe you didn't even know that our coast is twice longer than French coast. Looks like impossible, but you know, this is actually a trick thing. Also Denmark, they have a very long coast because they count Greenland. So we don't have Greenland, but we have more than 1,000 of islands, exactly 1,244. So obviously we have islands in different shapes. And one of them, it's very interesting, is in the shape of the heart. And this is one interesting photo made by Red Bull. They actually jumped, that was St. Valentine's Day. And you see these three guys, they formed arrow. So actually arrow goes through the heart. So we have different shapes of islands like fish, whatever. Just shortly, something more about Croatia. It's about Croatian diversity. This is one word which I like always to point because it's a very small country and I have many countries can actually relate to diversity, but I think that Croatia really have a lot of things in very, very small area. So very shortly, some nice pictures from Croatia that you know which is the country that we talk about. This is the picture from the most famous national park in Croatia, Plitvice Lakes. This is the town which burned by dragon in Game of Thrones. So Dubrovnik, or also known as King's Landing in that show. This is probably the most visited place in Croatia. But also in the countryside of Croatia, inside, we have beautiful castles. This is also part of Croatian coast. It's one town, Hvar, on island Hvar. Very, very beautiful place. Probably the most beautiful island in Croatia. This is the most taken picture from my hometown, Zagreb. Also, we call our town City of Million Hearts. Unfortunately, we had a big earthquake a few months ago, but we will make Zagreb great again. This is also Croatian coast. One typical photo of this crystal blue sea. This is probably the most famous beach in Croatia. Even if it looks like from air like it's sand, it's not. They're pebbles because most of Croatian coast are stones. We have many pebblestone beaches and just few sandy beaches. And actually, I can tell you almost all the names of all these sand beaches because we don't have them many. This is also one beautiful photo from one island in Croatia, one interesting town. I don't know if you knew that, but the second largest defensive wall in the world is also in Croatia. This was made 800 years ago to protect one peninsula. So Great Wall of China, of course, is by far the longest one. But then There is nothing, 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 and then Croatia, second place, like on the World Cup. Yeah, we have nice castles, like for example, this one or this one, the old town of the center of one old town in Croatia. We have nice coastal cities and interesting cities also. This is in the middle of the head of the dragon. One of these 400 hilltop cities or villages, many legends, many stories, and as you can see on the bottom, many vineyards and I hope many good wines. I have another question for you before we continue, if you want to again to give your reactions. It's about food. Also, there's one thing which is very interesting about Croatia, that in different parts of Croatia we have different food. So if you just leave one part, if you just move 50 kilometers away, all the specialties that you missed before, you will never find on the next place. There's some reason that people, for some reason, they don't eat the same things in different parts of Croatia. They don't even like the same things. So my question is about this: what do you like? For example, if you like more seafood, I would like you to put thumb up. If you prefer meat or everything, applause. Or if you are vegan, for example, nothing. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. Yeah, different answers as I expected. So for vegans, Croatia is not really the best place, but for any other food lover, you know, when I do wine tours, one of the biggest issues for me is when I have vegan on the tour, because we have food and we already paired some food with and it's traditional food, you know. So traditional food, as I said, for vegans in Croatia is not really good, but we find something. So this is just some small example of 4 really typical dishes. On the top left corner, you can see shrimps, very special, one specialty, shrimps in buzara style. Buzara is actually the name for this sauce, and it can be some fish or different kind of mussels, whatever. So there are different versions of the same dish. On the top right corner, it's black risotto. This is really big specialty, not only from Croatia. You can find this on Mediterranean, but in Croatia it's really big thing, and one of my favorite dishes, and I like to put a lot of Parmigiano cheese on the top, and yeah. Then on the top, on the bottom left, it's strukli. Strukli is one specialty from that part of Croatia, which is like top of the wings. And what is interesting about strukli, this is probably the only food which is 99.5% originally Croatian. And interesting is that that thing can be appetizer, soup, main dish, or dessert. It depends how you make it. Really interesting thing. And on the bottom, on the right side, is peka, or something that we make. We can describe it as under iron bell, or maybe it's close to tagine, I don't know, but it's different because different way how we make it, and different things how we put it inside, and different ingredients, different seasons. To pair food, you know, in Croatia with wine, you see how many. So I just showed you 4 dishes, but here I want to show in this picture actually every small part of Croatia. They have different specialties, different things. Traditionally, I mean, you know, now you can find McDonald's on many places, but traditionally there are different things in different parts, and it seems like it's very hard to be good, I don't know, sommelier, or to be good in pairing of the food. But there is one trick how we can make it easy. If you know Croatia, if you know the specialties from one part of Croatia, and you know the wines from that part of Croatia, you never mix that. That will help you. So it's quite easy if you know, of course, the country. Just a few things, this will be very short, about things which come from Croatia, which could be maybe interesting for you. This first picture on the left side is not Photoshop. This is one of the best preserved gladiators arena, which is in one Croatian town, where is the head of the dragon. And this necktie actually it was really put it there because there's some connection between necktie and Croatia. Actually, original name for necktie is cravat, is French word. And in some languages, like for example in German, is cravate. So in some languages still they keep that original version. English people, they moved that from English language for some reason. You know, they didn't like some French words, especially in the 19th century. So what's connection between cravat and Croat? Very shortly, Croatian mercenaries went to France in 17th century and fighting for the French king, and they were wearing red scarves, specially tied around the neck. French king and all other people immediately they start to be like fashion, and French king asked his private tailor to make him something a la Croat, like Croatian. So Croat during the time becomes cravat, and that's the connection. So we gave that thing to the world, and now if you go to some meeting, you have a problem because you need to tie that, and it's not so easy. And you know, there's several ways how to tie it, but you need to know the system. And there is one very interesting joke about that. Why there is a system? Because originally, these soldiers, when they went to the war, these red scarves were actually were gifts by their girlfriends and wives because they go to the war. So the joke says why there is a special system to tie the necktie. Those girlfriends and wives, they invented that special system. So one day when soldiers will come back, they will know immediately if they cheated on them or not. Another thing which was invented in Croatia is actually mechanical pen. There's one guy, Slavoljub Penkala, and he invented pen. He had a company, Penkala, more than 100 years ago. He was selling all around the world, and maybe you can make connection. You see, his family name is Penkala, pen, okay? He also invented thermos and many other things. And Tesla, who was born in Croatia, and he invented almost everything that we know. One of the most important things is actually AC, but also he invented radio, remote control, and more than 1,000 inventions. So let's go back to the wine. Wine is fun. Okay, actually we can have one short sip. Cheers. Uzdrav. And let's talk about 4 regions of Croatia. 4 regions which are actually defined by soil. Again, you can see that dragon-shaped country. And one of the things that you see these 4 different colors and gray area in the middle. Gray area is actually mountain area. Croatia, this is really, I think it's interesting, very small country. We have 4 climate zones. Continental climate here in this part of Croatia, mountain climate in this gray area, then Mediterranean climate on Mediterranean, and then down on the bottom of our coast, we have some micro areas with subtropical climate. You know how sun is important in production of wine. Also, soil is important. So these 4 colors here represents 4 different kind of terroir. So blue color which is Dalmatia, you know, Dalmatian dog is from there. So Dalmatia mostly is rocky, so rocks. This part, head of the dragon and around, dominantly, not only, but dominantly is red soil, but also it's white soil. And green area is clay, and this yellow is actually black soil. This is the flat. Eastern part of Croatia is flat. This is uphill, so small rolling hills. Here, let's say rolling hills, and here is more steep, especially if it's close to the coast. Most of Croatian coast is very, very deep, steep. One interesting maybe thing that readers of USA Today have chosen Croatia is one of the most beautiful wine regions in the world. We were in top 5, surpassing even much more famous rivals as Tuscany, Napa Valley, Oregon, Bordeaux. But this is, of course, just the choice of readers of USA Today. Yeah, it's not so easy to you see down there. It's just some of the names. This is not so important. I will tell you the most representative wines from regions. Again, the food and pairing of the food. I would like you to join me now on the travel. if you're okay, we can take a boat and travel. Same as some Greeks travel in 2005, more than 2,500 years ago. And they came to some part of Croatia, which we call today Dalmatia. They came to some islands and they found already local people who were already there producing the wines, because we have evidence that wine was produced in this area even in Bronze era or Iron era also. But 2,500 years ago, when they come on one island in Croatia, we have the first registered production of wine. Now, please, I would like you to use your imagination and please imagine the vineyard. Probably you imagine something like this, and that's okay. That's totally okay. But that's not typical vineyard for that region of Croatia. Typical vineyard is something like this. You see, small plants like bushes. Okay, this is early spring, so that's why there are not so many leaves, but you can see much better that actually it's very rocky soil. You see it's like bushes, and it's on very, very steep positions, especially one position in Croatia, very, very steep. Actually, we have several, but one which is very famous, it's the first protected area, even in 1950s in Croatia, is this place. The name of that position is Dingač. One Bordeaux-based enologist, Michel Rolland, maybe you heard about him. He's also world's leading wine consultant and enologist. He said, this position is the maddest place on earth to make wine. This is so, so steep. If you can see here, there are several roads, but there is one road which goes here through that steep mountain. And many times I like to drive here with my guests. And it's very steep. So when I drive, usually guests are on the right side of the car, which is even close to that steep downhill. And I drive very close to that edge. So they come a little bit more closer to me. And then I stop because I wanted to show them how it's steep. Then we stop and then I show them the vineyards. They cannot believe that someone was so crazy to put the vineyard on that really, really crazy steep place. So why they do it? Why people actually use that steep area? You see, very close to the sea, and people live on the other side. So in the past, they need to use donkeys to take grapes from this side and go on the other side. That's why 100 years ago, they dig the tunnel through this mountain to make their life easier. So why they use the steep place? Because this place got 3 times more sun than any other regular vineyard. First, directly from the sun. Second, reflection from the sea. And the third thing is, I told you, it's rocky. So rocks will be heated during the day, and during the night they will release the heat back. So these grapes will get so much sun. That's why some of the wines from that position could have more than 70% of alcohol. Very strong things that even Anthony Bourdain, when he visited Croatia and he was drinking that wine, he fell under the table because he didn't expect that he will get drunk after a few glasses. So position of that position is Dingač, but the grapes which we produce here is Plavac Mali, little blue one, let's say in some translation. So Dingač is dark wine, dark red, almost to purple, dark red color with blue reflections. It's harmonious, it's full body, pleasantly bitter, quite strong, and quite strong drying sensation, you know, and that's caused because of tannins. I always joke with my guests, and Jerome, now excuse me, you're from Germany, but I will tell now one joke which happened to me in one of the tours. There was a mixed group from people from different parts of the world and a few Germans. That's important now for this story. I try to explain them why tour guides maybe don't prefer to have wines with too much tannin, because tannin make this dry effect in your mouth, you know that. And in that case, my English becomes more like German English. Yeah, so Plavac is the name of this grape. in this area. There's some lyrics which try to explain like the best version of that plavac, which is Dingac, named after that region. It says that if Dingac is year, then smell of it is actually spring. If Dingac is the sun, then his smell is high noon. And if Dingac is a song, his smell is refrain. Dingac is probably one of the most famous wines in Croatia. And in the past was really, really one of the best. Now maybe things a little bit changed. Also, we have some white wines in this region as well. And Debit, for example, is one of them. And it's interesting. This wine is usually with nice herbal taste, like summer flavors, a little bit of citrus fruits, that kind of wine. This producer exactly of that wine is one different position, not Dingac, it's different position. He decided, his idea was like big wines deserve to have big label. So that's why he put this big label. Totally opposite thing is on one island in Croatia, where local people are known to be very frugal. So that's why they say that they will make the. I will put one short video now. That kind of people will make different kind of label of their wine. You see how it's steep. And you can imagine how hard was life of these people. Always. Here, it's Mediterranean climate, very, very hot days, and you should do everything with hands. Because the vineyard, here you see it's on the steep position, it's all rocks, and everything should be done by hands. So they made the smallest label probably in the world. It's like post stamp. But for us, for Croatians, because we have many jokes about people from the Thailand, like, you know, this prejudice about Scottish people, so it's pretty much the same thing. But we have the jokes about people from the Thailand, and that's why, for fun, they made this like the smallest label in the world. Okay, that region is known for Plavac Mali. Plavac Mali is one of the most breeded variety of the grapes in Croatia, especially in that region. I told you that on this short virtual tour, I will tell you something about Croatia as a homeland of Chardonnay and Zinfandel. All this thanks to this lady, Carol Meredith. She's American grape geneticist, and from university from California, and she spent years and years discovering the origin of Zinfandel, the most famous red wine in, like local variety in USA. And so she spent years and years trying to find the matching and how it goes. All that was activated, actually started by one also American great wine producer. His name is Mike Grgic. I hope you heard about him. If not, he is the first one who won that open international Chardonnay competition in France. You know, in France, in 60s, France opened that like to make it open for worldwide, not because they wanted anyone else to win. They opened it because they wanted to make it international. And it was blind testing. He won. Of course, they were totally disappointed with this, so they repeat actually blind testing immediately because they thought it's some mistake. And then they actually must say that he is the winner. Also, there is a movie about him, Bottle Shock, but for some, I don't understand the reason, but for some reason, producers of the movie decided to make him British in that movie, not Croatian. So thanks to Carol Meredith and thanks to that Mike Grgic, who actually is wine producer in Napa Valley, Grgić Hills is the name of his famous winery. He was surprised with the similarity between Zinfandel, but also Plavac Mali, and also one Italian variety, Primitivo, which is actually was always somehow connected with Zinfandel. But then, thanks to DNA research and result of it is that Zinfandel, Primitivo, and Plavac Mali actually are all brothers, probably from the same father. Father is also from Croatia, somewhere where is the belly of the dragon, and almost forgotten variety. And the name of that variety is Tribidrag or Crljenak or some other names. We have several names. We have different names for different varieties of the wines. Also, I forgot to mention that Debit, you know, the white wine, which was before mentioned. Debit is, does this name remind you on something? You can use applause if you can make connection debit with something else, or maybe not. Debit, like for example, debit card. So like credit card. Yeah, debit is the name of the wine, which actually gets the name because it was used in the past when peasants, when they couldn't pay taxes, they were allowed to pay in that white wine, and that's why that wine was named debit. This is also one nice place in Croatia, Primošten, very beautiful town, which was long time ago in the past. It was actually island, now is connected with the mainland. And that's the place, where very near that place also is in Dalmatia, where we have such interesting vineyards. You see here, actually the middle part is more lighted. This is actually post stamp, which was made because of the beauty of this vineyard. You see dry walls, which are all around. Dry walls are also protected by UNESCO as a heritage, but in between you can see vineyards. These dry walls are here because of two reasons. Again, hard work of the local people who actually wanted to use that rocky land. So they need to remove all small pieces of rocks day by day. They didn't just make bunches of rocks. No, they put them in the walls, the dry walls. Sometimes they look more representative. Let's say this is like, it looks a little bit different, but it's very specific for this part of Mediterranean. And the second reason why they put this here, because it was the reason that actually it stopped erosion of the land because of the rain. So whenever they will have rain, it was big possibility that actually the soil will go down. So actually this was here to protect the soil not to go away. It was very hard work, but wine was always part of our lives. So that's why they will work whole day making that land, then caring about the grapes, then making the wine, and then repeat again year by year. Okay, now let's travel a little bit more up along the coast, and we will come to the head of the dragon. So this part of Croatia is Istria and Kvarner. And you see also, again, here we have red and whites, but here is the only part of Croatia where this is like 50-50. As I told you, usually on the coast we have more red wines. In the continental part, you will see later more white wines, but here is like 50-50. It's a little bit cooler temperature, but it's still Mediterranean climate. And one thing which is very typical for this part of Croatia is actually red soil. You see, this is very typical for this part. Here, for example, with that black risotto and bright local white wine Malvasia, you can have a really nice meal. Or if you prefer more red wines, then you can have maybe something light like prosciutto, cheese, and then this nice teran. This is the most famous red wine from this part of Croatia. This part of Croatia is also known for truffles and for production of very good olive oil. So that's why even in the past, everyone wants to have this. Romans, Venetians, Austrians. Local people today, they say that actually the good side of it, that in the past so many different countries possessed that part where actually Croatians live here. It says that from Austria we took the serious, attitude to the work, and from Italy the best man can make. So red soil. It's not just red soil. Sometimes it's white soil. It depends again on the hills, because this is hilly land. On this picture is not so visible, but in most of the part of that part of Croatia is actually there are hills, and in many places we have red soil. Red soil is of course better for red wines. It's easy to make connection because of the color. The reason is not just the color, of course, but it's full of clay and of course some minerals. But let's talk about white wine first. White wine, the most famous white wine in that region is Malvasia. In the past, Venetian merchants actually were selling white and red wine and Malvasia. It was very fun probably in those days when you want to buy from them, and they will sell you, so which one you want, white or red? So you said something special, they will say, oh, we have one very special one. The name is Malvasia. That's probably the main reason why all around Mediterranean, and even in some countries in the neighborhood, you have more than 40, 50 different kind of Malvasia, and many of them are not even connected. Probably that was the first branding in wine selling. Eastern Malvasia actually has two faces. Again, I have one question for you. If we talk about white wines, you can actually put a thumb up if you like more refreshing light wines, or applause if you like more oaky, like more full body white wines. Thank you. Thank you. Interesting. You have both answers, of course, different taste of different people. So Malvasia actually can have two faces. Typical one is actually very fresh wine, minerally rich flower aromas. And this one is, as I said, like more typical. And usually it's aged shorter in metal barrels, of course. The other one is the one which is aged in oak barrels, and it's more full body, so it can be both. Those who are aged longer actually showed us the quality of this wine, which gives opportunity for really, so probably we still wait in Croatia to have Grand Cru region, so probably Istria could be one of these regions, and I hope very soon it will happen. So pale lemon yellow, usually something like that is the color of that wine, and one famous analogy says it quenched the thirst better than Sauvignon Blanc, maybe even with more personality than Pinot Grigio. And now with this bouquet of wildflowers, you can really taste this place, Istria. Istria, that has really all flavors of that place are in that white wine. The most famous red wine, local red wine from that part of Croatia is actually Teran. So Teran grapes, they need more difference in temperature between day and night. So they can have it on these hills because during the day it's hot because it's still Mediterranean climate, but Alps are not far. So during the night you have this refreshing air, and this is the best for that Teran. So that wine could be very elegant and very complex in the same time. So Teran needs, one producer, he said that Teran needs a lot of sun and a lot of nerves to be made on the good wine. So it's deep red wine, almost purple, rich in flavors, and high in acidity, in acidities, which is not so typical for any, usually for red wines, but also is strong in tannins. So let's travel a bit more on the north, or actually we call this part of Croatia southwest. So this is like central part of Croatia, the capital city is here somewhere in the middle, and this is like Croatian uphills. It's really nice hilly region full of small and firm winemakers. So they work around their own tiny cellars, and actually whole life they're very dedicated to this production of wine. And this is something which makes Croatia, especially this part of Croatia, but also is typical for other parts, but especially for that part of Croatia, that many people, almost all householders in the villages, they have their own small vineyards. You can see here, for example, on this picture, maybe you can see these small houses. Some of them are just wine cellars, and you see these small vineyards. When I showed you the vineyard of my father, this is also one small vineyard. So my father is not one of those more than 1,600 registered wine producers in Croatia, because Croatia is now, it's not a big country. So in that way, the most of producers, I mean, these producers with labels who are selling the wines and everything, they're concentrated much more on quality than on quantity. So we can say it's kind of boutique production. But also we have many thousands and thousands of small producers like my father who actually produce their own wine. Typical wines from this region could be Škrlet, for example. It's light in alcohol, very light, very refreshing, with floral notes, like, and then some fruits like green apples, pears, something like that. As I said, it's very light, very bad reputation, because in the past, you know, when we talk about tradition, we don't have much from this, that we produce wine officially here 2,500 years. If we talk about tradition which will go from one generation to another generation, because many times in the history we have some problems, some stops, or some big problems like disease or something like that, you know, phylloxera and everything. But also we had the time when Croatia was part of Yugoslavia and was communist country. In those days, we didn't have these private producers, and everything was actually, it was all about 7 big producers, big companies run by state, of course. They will just collect the grapes and they will make the wines. Shitty wines because they will just make the big quantity. Those wines will also have some interesting names like Fisherman, and actually they will say nothing. They will be like cuvée, but not in that meaning, as you know. So they will just make different grapes and just make big quantity, just let the people get drunk. Some of them will produce some wines with the names. So Škrlet was one of them. So that's why, as I said, the bad reputation is still around that wine. But as you can see, they can win even the silver medal. Also, the name is interesting, Škrlet. It's hard now to make connection. Debit was maybe easier, but I will help you. It comes from one German word, which is very close to English word, which is actually scarlet fever. Usually on tour, I say to the people, I will explain the name after you taste the wine, because otherwise you will have this bad idea maybe about the wine. Why on earth someone will name the wine after disease? But actually the reason is very simple. The grapes are yellow, but approximately 3 weeks before the harvest, because of the sun, especially on the sunny side, some red small dots will start to appear on the skin. This is totally normal, but people make connection between this and that disease, and that's how they named that wine. So it's Škrlet, very interesting, light, very light in alcohols, but rich in aromas, very nice wine from that part of Croatia. This is clay. So clay is full of minerals. Of course, that those wines are very minerally wines. There is also another one, Pušipel. this wine is not really totally local variety, because also you can find it in some our neighbor countries like Slovenia and Hungary, but also you can find it in Romania, in some other parts of Europe, but not all around. And of course, every country has different name. Bushipel is Croatian name. It's very fresh and mineral wines, minerals from the clay mostly, of course, and citrus aromas, mild acidity. So this wine can be served with some light food, but also it can be, I can imagine myself on hot summer day just drinking that wine. You don't need even food, because it's so refreshing and it's so nice, but mild. So it's really drinkable, easy to drink. Also, it shows us that that wine is it's actually great raw material. Grapes are really great raw material for production of different types of wines. So I hope that producers will be even more creative in the future with this wine. This wine with 91 points, I actually wanted to show this one because it's really nice or interesting maybe to know that the leader of that family-owned small company is actually one girl. She's the daughter of the in that family, and actually she now starts to produce the wine. And as you can see, she's really good. And yeah, sometimes maybe that's interesting in that, let's say, men's world of wine producers. Story about Chardonnay. So Croatia is also the homeland of Chardonnay. How I know that? Again, DNA research. You see this guy on the right side, Marcus Aurelius Probus. He was Roman emperor, and he's one of those. He's the only one actually, but probably I don't know if maybe he planted few wines, but he actually forced his soldiers to plant the grapes in all the Danube region. So all around Austria, today's Austria, Germany, and all these vineyards actually in the past were actually started by Romans. And he was one of those who actually forced the soldiers to make this because he liked wine so much. But probably the soldiers didn't like that so much because it was really hard work. Of course, you know that to work in the vineyard, this is really hard job. And finally, soldiers killed him because they couldn't stand it that they need to work in the vineyard. They're soldiers, of course. Yeah, so that's one of the possible ways how wines, even in Croatia, they come on that continental part, they come maybe because of the Romans. Chardonnay is probably the most known or most famous white wine in the world. And DNA research, again, thanks to Mrs. Meredith, that she discovered that Chardonnay has actually two parents. One is Pinot Noir and one is Belina. Belina is one old Croatian, almost forgotten variety. Of course, they spend, I don't know, 2 years to find it, because usually they check many different kind of grapes. So they spend years and years and find that one. And funny story is that local people, when they found out that Belina is actually, they thought it's a father of not just one Chardonnay, of many Chardonnays and some other wines as well, even Riesling, and their connections with different grapes. So they were so happy and so proud that they start to call that wine Casanova wine. But the funny side of it is that, you know, DNA, when they research something, so you have two ways how it goes, to the father's and mother's side, and actually Belina is mother. It's not father. So it's not Casanova, and actually it doesn't sound so nice now after all this. And now we travel more to the east. Eastern part of Croatia is more flat part of Croatia. Here, as I said before, we have black soil, again, different varieties of the grapes. In Croatia, we have more than 300 different types of grapes, and maybe more than 120 of them are local varieties. And every year, actually, we discover even more and more. So yeah, Danube River also is part of Croatia. One part it goes through Croatia, and it helps us to have again more diversity. Typical vineyard in eastern part of Croatia, except in one small area which is actually surrounded by mountains, but usually we have this almost flat or little hills like you can see on this picture. So this is so typical for the eastern part of Croatia. The most produced wine in Croatia and the most famous for that part of Croatia is Graševina. Around 12, maybe, a little bit more than 12% of all production of wine in Croatia is that wine, Graševina. Also, once had very bad reputation, but now you can see even by this picture that actually it can be really, really good. So for those people who enjoy texture of Chardonnay, here is wine with, which can be maybe in some parts like Chardonnay, but it's really, it's totally different variety, but it's really wine with regional character. And local people call it wine of grace. Sometimes it's like a nickname for that wine. It's very good for summer evenings on Danube River, and this is the wine that you can really feel the place. This is the most important Croatian wine grape because it produces the most of the wines. And Graševina is characterized by pleasant, fruity, and floral aromas, lively acids. So it's really wine with harmony for people who like that kind of wines. This region is also very good for ice wine production, same as the region which is northwest, like the top of the wings. So we have these two parts of Croatia where we can make ice wine. This is quite new for Croatia, so it's not something that we actually did all our lives because it started with fashion now. But we have some, but of course we cannot do this every year. We have a lot of snow, but not in the right moment, so it cannot be done every year. Usually in Croatia, producers, when they make ice wine, they wait 3 mornings when they have -7, and then they make the harvest. But on the south of Croatia, so in Dalmatia, there is also one sweet dessert wine which was produced in the past, even today. The name of the wine is Prošek. When we joined EU, we had a problem with Italians because they say it sounds like Prosecco, so they didn't allow us to use it. But accidentally, you know, Prosecco is produced in the last 150 years maybe, and Prošek we produced more than 500 years. So yeah, that was good argument in that argue about the name. So now we can both use that name. And it's not the same actually. Prošek, it's interesting thing on the south, how they make the wine. You see, here's the snow on the grapes. On the south, we don't have snow at all. So how they make it? Actually, they cut the whole part of the plants with the grapes on it. They cut them, they put them under the roof, and they wait for a few weeks. So the process of drying will happen anyway, and this, let's say, raisins will be then pressed, and they make that sweet, sweet dessert wine. In the past, they did it because that was the way how they can store it for a long, long period. And one funny thing from that period is that usually that wine, of course in small bottles, will be used as a gift for a newborn baby girl, just girls. So parents will not open the bottle when they will receive it. They will wait until that small girl will become, let's say, adult or a teenager, and when she will marry, or when she will turn 25, which will happen first. You know, in old days, 25 was like, yeah, too late. Also, one very, very interesting wine in that region is Traminac. Traminer, you know, that wine, you know, French Alsace, you can find them there in some parts of Italy where it's usually a little bit colder. And this wine, exactly this Traminac from Croatia, is also regularly found on Queen Elizabeth's wine list. For example, it was served on her coronation in 1953. And you can see this bottle in the middle is one of those originally and stored wines in that cellar which you can see in the background. And I think that bottle of that wine, the cost of the bottle is around 7,000 euros, if I'm not wrong. Just a little bit about traditions and habits. In Croatia, we have, of course, wine was part of the life. Even if that life was hard, it was really part of life of the people. So we have many traditions, but I will just point two. One is for St. Vincent's Day, which is in January. You see snow is all around. People come to vineyard, they play the music, of course they drink the wine, and they hang sausages in the vineyards. And you see, usually they try to pick very long sausages. And they pour some wine on the plants. Why they do it? It's like they pour the wine because it's like for the good luck for the next season. And they put these long sausages because they want to show to the nature the measure of the grapes, what they expect to have for the next season. Also, one nice celebration is St. Martin's Day. That day, this is like 2 months after the harvest, and that's the day when people believe that now that grape juice will become wine. So today we have many celebrations. Usually the cellars, they actually have some stand-up comedians. They will wear clothes like they're like you see like a priest, and he will use the same ceremony like they usually use for the kids when they baptize the kids. So they will baptize that wine because it's newborn wine. And it's very funny because they use the same ceremony, but they just change the words. And especially it's very funny because you drink 5, 6, 7, 8 glasses of wine. So then it's really very funny. Also, one interesting thing that we do in Croatia, we mix wine with sparkling or plain water. But one thing that you need to know, you heard about spritzer, but in Croatia, we make the difference between spritzer, which is made with soda, and the one that we make because we use natural sparkling water. We actually exploit, you can see on the left side, you can see one old ad from about this sparkling water. Here on the right side is new bottle, and we exploit that for more than 190 years. This is so popular that we do in the continental part of Croatia, white wine with sparkling water. Also, there is a mixture of red wine with plain water, but this is just on the coast. But on the continental part of Croatia, we mix, we make that mixture with sparkling water. This is so popular and so traditional thing that we have different combinations, and those combinations, they have names. So if you go to some local tavern, you can just say the name of that combination, they know immediately what you want. So some combinations are very describable, like 2 in 8 or 3 in 7. That means 3 portions of water in 7 portions of wine. So this is like, then you have 50-50, like half and half. Then you have the sports one, because usually half and half is 1 deciliter of wine and 1 deciliter of sparkling water. But then you play some sport, you will have less quantity. So it's half deciliter of wine and half deciliter of the sparkling water. So this is the sports one. My favorite name is the blessed one. You know, when priests blessed people, you know, they just use few drops to bless them. So this is wine with few drops of sparkling water on it. It's, I know maybe it sounds, for some of you who never tried, maybe it sounds crazy, but actually it's fun. And it's really refreshing. And traditionally, we have actually even the reason why we do it in Croatia, especially. On hot summer days, you saw the movie, you saw some pictures about this, how it's hot here in Croatia. On hot summer days, you need to work all day in the vineyard. Believe me, old people in Croatia, they don't like to drink water. We have actually one expression. Old people will say, when they will see you drinking water, they will say, how you can drink water? Because, you know, water is not good even if it comes to your shoe. So how you can drink that water? So water was never the option if you go to work in the field. So that's why, and wine also is not the option because it's so hot. So you'll be finished with your job at 10 a.m. totally drunk. So that's why they start to combine wines. In some other parts of Croatia, like on the south of Croatia, also they used wine to for like disinfection of the water because they didn't have naturally like sources of water. They will use rain or something like that. But usually all around Croatia, except on some parts of the coast, we have plenty of sources of water. So you see, we also have even the sparkling water. So this is Croatia. Less than 0.01% of the world's territory, but also it's 0.35% of whole production of wine in the world. And that's maybe the reason why, if you don't live in Croatia, if you don't live in maybe in Europe, if you're outside of Europe especially, maybe you never heard about Croatian wines or Croatia. But I hope that I gave you a few reasons that now you know something about Croatia. So it's small on the map, but maybe we have something interesting to show to you. So please visit us. If you visit us, I can give you some tips for visiting very shortly. So as I told you before, Croatia is all about diversity. If you miss something in one part of Croatia, you will never find it in some other part of Croatia because it's so different, not just in wine production or in food. It's also in mentality of the people. It's in languages that we speak. It's in traditions, in everything. Yeah, some people expect that Croatia's ex-communist country will be cheap, and please stay open for new experiences. So when you come to Croatia, please do what locals, what they do, and trust them. And welcome to Croatia. If you have any questions or anything, we can go back now to the, if I will end this and
Bravo, Dubravko. Phenomenal presentation. Very well done. Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks. Thank you. You can unmute yourself if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting, Max. Thanks for that.
I know, Jerome, that you visited Croatia, but you've been to just one part of Croatia, and maybe now you've seen that there's actually even much more. I don't know for the rest of you. Some of you, I know that you visited Croatia. Some of you live in Croatia or lived.
Hey, I have a question, Max. You showed us how small those vineyards are, right? So that's actually a thing that is still ongoing, right? Those very small vineyards.
Yeah.
So is that basically mom and pop producing for home, or are they actually commercializing it? So how does it make sense for people to work those very small plots?
Yeah, good question, but it's so traditional that actually it's a part of your life. And I can give you an example of my father, for example. He always had vineyard. When he was a kid, he had a vineyard because his father had a vineyard, but now he owns the vineyard and he produced. You know, if you remember the picture where I show you my father, he was actually pressing the wine. So all of those people, and there are thousands of them, they all have all equipment at home. They don't share it, you know. So it's so much part of their life, you know. They have cellar, they have barrels, they have everything inside. And actually it's a big part of their lives. And it's not for commercial reasons. Actually, especially in that, this is not all around Croatia same. But I will just say now for a northwestern part of Croatia, where I live and where my father is there, there's one song which says, I'll translate it very free way. So they say that no one of people from this part of Croatia never sold any liter of wine because all wine was drank by his friends. So my father is not happy if 1 year he produced less than 2,000 liters. He's not happy. He will not drink alone. I mean, if you challenge him, he can, but he will not drink it alone all the wines. So he will share with family, with friends, for events, for you know, anything, you know, same as other friends. You know, they always hang out in this. You know, in this presentation, you know, my walking tour is 4 or 5 hours. Usually I missed many stories. One of my favorite thing is when I talk about mixing of wine with water. We also have some other mixture like Coke and red wine, you know. This is also so, I mean, in Spain, I think, in Spain they have it, right? In Spain also.
Yeah, we have it in Spain as well, but I just hate that. I hate it. I think it, you know, actually, I have to blame Jerome, but I think because I think it came with the Germans. I think that, no, seriously, seriously, I'm not fucking joking. I think it didn't came with the Austrian, Hungarians, or Italians, or Romans, or any.
Okay, but Coke came from USA. Okay, but Coke came from America.
Yeah, but seriously, Mark, I think in Dalmatia, I think it started with the Germans because they couldn't handle the high alcohol percentage of our wines. So they started mixing the red wines with Coke and ice. And I think it's the same in Spain. I don't have any academic foundation for this statement, but this is what I think.
Okay, but I have like more funny version of it, you know. For example, you see this mixture of wine and water. Okay, people never do that with some high quality or quality wine. Never. So they never do that with high quality wine. Excuse me. They do that only with some. Now Rebecca actually came later when we were over. Rebecca, hello. So they never do that with high quality. We have 3 levels actually of qualities in Croatia. So it's like top quality, like premium. Then you have like quality wines, and then table quality. So people will do that mixture of sparkling wine, sparkling water, and table quality wine only with that quality, table quality. So in this case, all these people who actually, these small producers, when they produce the wine, they have table quality wine. So many times they will actually make that mixture, and that's the way how they will actually drink those wines. So when I was kid, okay, when I talk about mixture, I like to explain to my guests, I say that when I was kid, this is typical story from northwestern part of Croatia. When I was kid, you know, I was hanging around, and I was maybe 10 years old or 7 years old, and my father was drinking wine with his friends. I will come close, and of course I want to try. And yes, they will give me a sip because it was fun to see, you know, for them how I will not like it. You know, of course, for the kid, this is not the best flavor. Then when I was maybe, I don't know, 13, 14, you know, again, I was close by, and then I asked again my father, okay, 15 maybe. So I asked my father and his friends again to try. And usually everyone will say, no, you're too young for wine. No, that's not okay. So every kid, high school kid in Croatia, usually how we start to drink, usually we will go in the shop and we will buy some, again, table quality, because anyway, we don't have too much money. So we'll buy some table quality red wine and Coke. Coke will give sweetness. Okay, you said it's because of the Germans. For us, it's because of we are teenagers. So wine is not the best flavor when you are 16, you know. Coke will give the sweetness. And then I usually show to my guests like this. At the beginning, you put a little bit of wine and much more Coke. But then during the time, that ratio will change in the flavor of wine. But even today, many of my friends, when we hang out, when we have barbecue, for example, for the same reason, like those farmers couldn't drink on these hot summer days, they couldn't drink just wine. So for the same reason, we sometimes drink some table quality red wine with Coke, because that way you can drink whole day. Because the point for us is not to get drunk. You know, that's why. And as I said, we never do that with high quality or even with, but so much with quality wine, just with table quality. So there's one central institution, by the way, there's a central institution that you can send samples, and every year they will rate you. It doesn't matter which category you were last year, of course, every year is different. So of course they will rate you differently. So as I said, and that was your question, Jerome, small producers, in that especially northwestern part of Croatia, I mean, private producers, not labeled, the 1,600 of labeled producers, small. And this is almost every one householder has vineyard. This is, I think, very untypical. I never saw, okay, in Slovenia, maybe you can find in some neighbor countries. Of course, I didn't travel all around the world, but I never heard about that because this is so traditional here. So it's part of, it's so normal. Like you have house, you have vineyard, you know, this is so normal and so common thing for everyone. Another thing which usually people ask me, it's about export of Croatian wines. And it's fun that if you go maybe some neighbor countries, you can find some wine, maybe a little bit somewhere, I don't know where, in Germany, maybe in USA, in some special shop where some Croatians live close by, maybe. But we do a lot of export, but on different way. We are a touristic country and many people come to visit Croatia and all of them, they drink wine. And actually we have much more tourists than Croatians. And of course, that's the way how we can export the wine. You know, we're still small in quantities. That's why we cannot even compete on world market. It's very hard to compete if you don't have, I don't know, big quantity. A friend of mine, he used to work for for Croatian embassy in Japan. And usually, you know, when they come to the country, they give some presents. So Croatians, we give wine because we think that Croatia is wine country. Wine is #1 drink in Croatia. Beer is #2. So still wine is #1. So they gave them some wines. Japanese, they liked some wines. They said, okay, this wine we like. We would like to make business, to import. They said, okay, no problem. We can put you in contact, how much you want. And they said, okay, for the beginning, 5 big boats of them. So we cannot make it in 50 years, you know. So that's why, that's maybe one of the reasons why Croatia is not so big in the world market, let's say. But as I said, maybe the history, maybe these traditions and everything which exists here for thousands and thousands of years, maybe that change now for you, your perspective, maybe some other people's perspective, but yeah, it's a huge tradition. And one of the things where is that visible is that local people, actually almost every one of them produce the wine, especially in that northwestern part of Croatia.
With regards to the export of Croatia, I don't know the whole of Croatia in terms of export percentages and so on, but I talked to Vinistra and Matošević and Kozlović, and they're saying they have around 60-65% export.
Yeah, so okay, Kozlović is the biggest producer in Istria. You know, we have, as I said, 1,600 producers in Croatia. Even if one of them or 10 of them will say that they export 100%, it's still, you know, actually small number compared to the other things. You know, in time of Yugoslavia, for example, when Croatia was part of that communist country, we didn't. Okay, till late 80s, we didn't have these private producers. And then when they produced the wines, actually, all was about these 7 big producers. Now, when the new people come to the game, let's say, now, of course, they try to make more export and everything, but it's still in the, I will say, in the beginning stage of everything. For example, I wanted to show you something. This, for example, this is one bottle of sparkling wine in the north, just to show you that I have it at home. So in one part of northwestern part of Croatia, which was known in the past for very bad acidic wines. I always try to avoid the word acidic because it doesn't sound very attractive. So refreshing or crisp. So very crisp wines. You know, these young producers, which I mentioned, they travel around and everything. Now, when they start to produce something, finally, when they had that opportunity to go on the market and produce, and they found that in Champagne, their wines are actually acidic. And now young people, actually, they start to make something new. And I hope, you know, it will go. So it will be more export. It will be more everything. Matošević, for example, they're actually 2 brothers. And on their website, you can see it's very interesting how they wrote their like bio. They said, our story is not typical Croatian story. We didn't have grandfather or father who started the business. we started it, you know. So I hope that now with new generations, with new people, we even that will improve. So they will have much more export. But you know, it's a big market, and you already have big players and everything. But I think that Croatia has a lot to offer.
Now, I mean, Max, it's your presentation. I don't want to take over, but you know as well that I'm Croatian, and I have my origins in Dalmatia and Istra. And I'm very happy and proud, although I'm born in Sweden and I live in Spain, but I'm very happy and proud to see that Croatian wines are rising. So besides your presentation, I would like to point out that the Swedish wine club, Munskänkarna, that has 25,000 members in Sweden, and they pronounce every year a wine region of the year. They made Istra the wine region of the year 2017. And I've also noticed that the sales of Croatian wines in Sweden and in the Nordic countries have increased. Not only the sales, but also the interest for wine, besides the fact that people want to travel to Croatia and enjoy the countryside and discover the country as a whole. Also in the US and Canada, I've noticed that there's quite an increase in terms of sales of wine. And I'm only talking about the diaspora and the Croatian people that are living there. There's actually a community that is working towards the promotion of Croatian wine. And I'm trying to promote Catalan wine, but Croatia is close to my heart. And I noticed that there's a big wave coming on to Croatia. So I loved your presentation. I know that it's a little bit different now, and the dynamics are different now for all of us in terms of this, but I'm sure that this summer, or hopefully the fall and next year, you will do excellent with regards to tours. Wish you all the best.
Yeah, we hope so for that. No, I didn't want to say that we don't export. I just say that still most of this is actually
no. Yeah, no, I know. Sorry, please don't get me wrong. That was not my intention.
No, it's totally okay. No, I like that you have, because you know, you are Croatian, so of course that you know, because you visit Croatia and you know some people and everything. By the way, your family name Curević, that's from that small island.
Which one?
Krapanj. It is, right? One of members of your family, because you know you're all should be related because you have same family name. He was
Maya or Christian?
Excuse me?
Maya Curević or Christian? Which one?
Christian Curević.
Kike.
Yeah. He was diver on air. Okay, people on that island in the past, they were sponge hunters. So during that period of generations, they developed, maybe something is in genes, but also it's in technique, how to swallow the air so they can go down. I spoke with one girl from the island. She said, usually I go to hunt fishes, you know. So I go down, maybe 10-15 meters, so I need for that 1 minute. And then I spend 3 minutes waiting for a fish. So always in water, you know, in sea actually. Yeah, people from the coast, they don't like if we say water for the sea. So it's sea, and water is that one what you drink. You know, that's also a complicated thing in Croatia, very, very complicated thing. So they people from that island, they have that, as I said, special technique. I don't know if you can do this.
Not now.
Yeah, of course, you need to practice everything, but it's interesting, you know, that actually in the past they were doing this sponge hunting, and that's why they developed that system, how to be underwater for 5, 6, 7 minutes. I don't know, very, very long time.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
Because I need to hop off the presentation, but I wanted to first of all say big thank you. Max, that was really, really interesting. The second thing is, yeah, we have not, I mean, I think we will continue with more presentations about different regions, and it would be great if, yeah, anybody who was on the call or who is still on the call is interested in presenting a region of his or hers. That would be fantastic. maybe in a week's time, 10 days. I think I'll be lining up Germany for in a couple of, basically in a week, I guess. But then, it would be great to have something like already in the backhand for, maybe in, 10 days a week, maybe 14 days. So let me know, or if somebody else in your group or in your community is interested, that'd be really fantastic. Else, again, from my end, big thank you. I'm just hopping off. I don't want to kind of finish this for you, Max, but I just smell, and it's, by German standards, this is super late evening, super late dinner.
Jerome, could I just say something quickly?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Sorry, guys, I was late, so I missed the first part. And I was wondering if there was any way that we can upload these videos so that, or the recordings, so that we can see them at a later time if we miss them.
I think
I'm recording.
I've uploaded mine. Sorry.
You uploaded your or not?
Yeah, I have mine uploaded. I'll share, but I don't know if I shared the link. I'll share the link, Rebecca. Sorry. Good point.
Okay.
Let's remind also Brenda. I don't know if Brenda is still here. She had a presentation, and I will upload mine. I have a link. Mine is already on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, send in the links. I would love to see them, but sometimes I might not be around when it's live.
So Jerome, how do we do that? Do we post it on the group page or?
Yeah, just post it on the groups page.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
No worries.
Hi, Brenda.
Bye, Jerome.
You're
Bye.
muted.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can.
Isn't it time for a presentation of Italy soon?
All of Italy?
Come on, we've had Mexico, we've had Bulgaria, we've had Croatia, we've had Catalonia. How about
Okay.
it?
Okay.
You know what? One thing, you know what? I made the mistake.
Are you in your car, Brenda?
Yeah, in the car. Yeah.
We can't hear her. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll work on that. All right. Bye, Jerome.
All right,
Sorry.
bye, everybody. Bye.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a nice
Cheers.
day.
Thanks,
Nice
Max.
evening. Jerome, good night.
Cheers.
Velika hvala. Thank you so much. Brenda, you're looking good in the car. Enjoy your ride.
Thank you. I'm delivering groceries. I'm almost there.
Admit that you're a crazy Mexican woman. Just admit it and we'll forgive you half.
No, I'm being responsible. I have my mask and everything. I just took it off to say hi. But I didn't want to miss this presentation. And if I could upload, I don't know, I can redo it, or just like maybe I can record something just to share it. I can do that.
That would
Sure.
be wonderful.
Okay.
Okay.
Ana, muy grande.
Night. Kiss to everyone and big hug. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ciao, buenas noches. Dobre večer svima. Ciao. Bog.
Ciao.
Bog.